Do you have to give up your Fourth Amendment rights when you get a ham radio license inside of the USA? What does that mean? What does the Fourth Amendment say? And what do we as ham radio operators have to give up by getting licensed? Let's talk about it today. I think it's first important to define what the Fourth Amendment says. I did this First Amendment video about freedom of speech on the airwaves, and you can check that video out. I'll put a link up here somewhere. But like that video, I think it's first important to define what the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution says. Once again, the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution are called the Bill of Rights. It was part of the original Constitution, but it wasn't written at the same time as the Declaration of Independence. But nevertheless, this is what the Fourth Amendment says. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, in other words, by like a jury or judge or something like that, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized, particularly describing the place to be searched and what to be seized. So it's important to understand what that says, that Frank often argues that he thinks TSA searches violate the Fourth Amendment rights. And I think he has a point. To a certain degree, he has a point, but it's not the same thing. Whether it is or isn't is kind of not the point. It's not the same thing as voluntarily buying a plane ticket, going to the airport, and volunteering for a TSA or being forced into a TSA search. Although no one's forcing you to buy a plane ticket and fly to wherever you're going. Maybe your job, but still, I don't know. That's a gray area, okay? But it's not the same thing as someone coming into your home. So this has been talked about a lot. The main reason I'm doing this now is because I had someone come by the channel and put up this comment on one of my videos. It wasn't even the First Amendment video. It was on a totally different video, and this is what he put up a comment saying. So this person made what I thought was a polite and respectful comment, and I tried not to be rude back to him. I did not consider him to be a troll. In fact, his first sentence says, "Longtime subscriber to Ham Radio 2.0. Okay, down here on the second line, it says, "Just remember, those with ham radio licenses give up their constitutional right to warrantless searches of their homes. Unsure if the same goes for GMRS licensed individuals and if that doesn't extend to their entire family as the license covers them all. Meanwhile, non-licensed people maintain their constitutional rights. It is a complex problem for some that can be broken down into categories such as the plain stupid idiots, virtue signaling squealers, angry wannabe cops kids, uninformed or ignorant types, that probably many more." And my response to him, which was stern and direct and to the point, but I didn't mean it to be rude, okay? It is a completely false idea that you give up your Fourth Amendment rights after you get a ham radio license. That lie has perpetrated the internet, and it is just wrong. If you read the agreement that you automatically adhere to for free band radio, CBN-FRS, it has the same verbiage that ham licensing does. So does GMRS. None of it makes you give up any of your constitutional rights. End of story. And that's what I wrote back to him. And he did reply, and he's like, "Well, you seem pretty sure about that." He's like, "Maybe I'm wrong." And he was very respectful. I didn't mean it to be an argument session. I responded back to his reply and that kind of thing. So I was poking around. I was like, you know what? I need to make a video on that. Other channels have made a video on that in the past, but I've never made one, so I thought I'd make one. Poking around here, I'm a member, as you might know. Ham Radio Prep is one of my sponsors, okay? So you can always save a 20% discount on all of the courses at hamradioprep.com with the coupon code of Jason20. Ham Radio Prep put up this article last year in 2023 saying, "Myth busted, you do not forfeit your Fourth Amendment rights when you get a ham radio license." Okay, and this is written by Ham Radio Prep in January of 2023. It's still true today. I read through this, and I very much agree with what it says. This is not legal advice, but let's start with the facts as we know them. You do not forfeit your Fourth Amendment rights to unreasonable search and seizure by getting a ham radio license. Holding an FCC license does not allow federal or local law enforcement the right to enter your home at any time. Okay, that's very important, okay? You have to understand what the license actually says, and once again, it is part of the technician license exam for ham radio. It's one of the test questions, but it's the same verbiage that's on a CB radio, and it's the same verbiage that's in that long document that you sign your name to when you just purchase a GMRS license. FCC can come knock on your door anytime they want to, even if it's for a bad transformer that might be on a telephone pole in your backyard, okay? If the electric company has put electric and power lines in your backyard and one of them is producing a bunch of RFI, they can come knocking on your door and request to see the equipment that they believe to be faulty. They can't barge in, they can't seize anything, they can't violate your Fourth Amendment rights, but they can knock on your door and request whether you have a radio or a license or not. You may wonder what the difference is between an unreasonable search prohibited under the Fourth Amendment and what's considered reasonable. If the FCC is investigating interference complaints and your station is searched, it's considered reasonable as the agency is attempting to resolve a complaint. So someone's complained at this point in time. Congress has legislated rules to allow the FCC Enforcement Bureau agents to inspect radio equipment. So someone has complained at this point in time, and generally speaking, it's people in an HOA or a neighbor. They say, oh, that guy down the street, he has a ham radio antenna, and my microwave or my TV's not acting right. It's probably that guy with the ham radio license. I know a lot of you will come and say, well, sad hams have probably called the FCC. No, it's usually a neighbor that lives down the street from a ham radio operator that blames the ham radio operator everything because we all have big-ass antennas in our backyard. And usually it's the touch lamp in their own home causing the interference. But leaving that aside for the moment, Congress has legislated rules to allow FCC enforcement agents to inspect radio equipment. This can be at any time they are working on interference issues if they believe specific equipment is involved. This inspection rule applies across all radio services. In addition to hams, this means broadcast stations, CBGMRS, and even public safety stations are subject to inspection if necessary. Here's the Fourth Amendment. I already read you guys the Fourth Amendment. This would leave it open to legislation on what is a reasonable search. That's a statement ending in a question mark. That's a terrible sentence, guys. Sorry, it just is. As part of the rulemaking process, Congress has determined the FCC station inspection is a reasonable search because of public safety issues. As the FCC points out on their inspection sheet, the FCC is inspecting the equipment, not your house. This is important to allow because of the role that radio and broadcasting plays in everyday lives. Perhaps the interference is keeping firefighters from responding to fire calls. A stuck mic is preventing your local ambulance service from knowing how to get to a heart attack victim. An off-frequency device is blocking planes from landing. In all these cases, it's prudent to have a group empowered to resolve these issues. The federal government has made the FCC Enforcement Bureau the group to deal with these safety issues. Inspections are one of their tools. Here's how the FCC explains the process in their inspection sheet. Once you open the door, the agents show their FCC identification card and badge, identify themselves by name and agency, and should state the purpose of the visit. They should request permission to inspect your radio station. The agents may also ask to see records such as licenses for the station operator or station logs, a lot of times station logs. Agents, however, should never, this is from the FCC's website, or FCC's inspection fact sheet, okay? Agents, however, should never open private cabinets, drawers, or other private items in the search for license documents. So what happens is if you say no when the FCC knocks on your door to inspect your equipment, it is a condition of your ham radio license to allow the equipment inspections. Some hams have told the FCC agents no and suffered consequences. They have been subject to severe fines and loss of their ham radio license and even equipment for not allowing inspection. I posted a video just a few weeks ago about a CB operator that was fined for also not allowing inspection. Now, how strict these fines are and how much they're enforced, I really don't know. Sometimes they fine you and then nobody ever pays it, and I don't know how all that works on the back end. The FCC keeps a history of enforcement actions on their website, including amateur radio enforcement actions. They also published a table called Base Amounts for Forfeitures, which lists failure to permit inspection as a minimum fine of $7,000. One of our instructors looked at the FCC enforcement actions and ham radio fines over the last 10 years and find that in 4 BFR's hamtechlibrary.com blog. So, okay, that might be, maybe I'll go into that on another video. Recapping, Congress has said an FCC equipment inspection is a reasonable search. If you don't comply, it could cost you at least $7,000 and your ham radio license and possibly equipment. That said, these are written by Congress and Congress can change them. If you think it should be changed, visit congress.gov and contact your local representative and state your case. So, I think it's important to acknowledge that sometimes these inspections are necessary. We live in a free society. For the most part. I'm talking about people in the USA right now. We live in a free society. But my rights end where yours begin, and your rights end where mine begin. And both of our rights end where his or hers or theirs begin. So I can go outside and swing my fist all day long, but as soon as I knock someone else in the nose, I violated their rights. So when you're driving down the road with a 1500 watt powered CB that's got a really dirty signal because CBs aren't made to be that powerful, and amplifiers might be clean, but the CB itself might be dirty, and you're blowing speakers out on TVs, on computer speakers, that's a common one. Back in the day, nobody has answering machines anymore, but back in the day, on my own CB, I used to get complaints. I would drive down the road, and I would not be running an amplifier, but I would not be running legally either. But I would get complaints from my neighbors and my parents that I was coming over their answering machine. We used to fool around with the drive-thru at McDonald's and Wendy's and Taco Bell when we were in college, and we would get in the drive-thru, and we'd be behind two or three cars back in the drive-thru, and we would hear the loudspeaker inside the McDonald's, and we'd key up our CBs, which might have had too much power. Maybe they did. I don't remember right now. I don't remember if they had too much power or not. We key up our CBs and hear ourselves over the speaker and intercom system inside the restaurant. The things you do when your mom's not looking, right? But these types of things, I mean, it's funny. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, I shouldn't have done that. But it's funny to a certain degree. Okay, but it's not funny when it interferes with someone's home. So once again, my rights to talk on the CB or talk on the ham radio end when it starts interfering with you and some piece of equipment in your area. If you live close to an airport, you sure as heck don't want to interfere with the air traffic control guys or the AM broadcast band or AM aircraft band. Okay, if you live near a radio station, you probably don't want to interfere with them too much because they've probably got more money than you do and can come after you with some hefty lawyers and whatnot. So I think it's good to have some sort of regulation in place, but I think it's very important to understand that having a ham radio license does not force you to forfeit any of your rights. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th, 12th, 30th, whatever amendment. It doesn't force you to give up any rights. And if you use any radio service inside the USA, you're still subject to those same sort of searches, request for reasonable searches, if you are actually causing interference either by design, either on purpose, or if something's just faulty and you don't know about it and they're trying to track down a bad transformer or transmitter somewhere in your property. That might be in your property. It might be in your neighbor's property. They might knock on your door by mistake. Who knows? That is what that is. I would like to know what you guys think about that fact. I've done the First Amendment and I've done the Fourth Amendment. If you want to see those videos, check out over here the First Amendment video and the CB radio operator who was fined for refusing a search. Check out those videos over here. And put a comment below because I'd really like to know what you think about this story and about these statistics of Fourth Amendment rights inside of Ham Radio 73.